right, we'll go ahead and get started. I want to adjourn the meeting, and I want to thank you all for coming. Do we still, we have, adjourned, did I say that?
Yeah. We want to thank us all for coming.
Okay, well, that was a short meeting. I wasn't kidding. Sorry, I didn't mean that. It slipped right out there. Maybe that was really my desire, but no. Do we have a representative? So I take that back. Do we have somebody, is Representative Hubert online?
Yes, Mr. Chair. Representative Hubert is online in the WebEx.
Any others?
Of the committee, no, we do not.
Okay.
We do not.
All right, fair enough. Okay, well, first off, what we need to do is we need to approve the minutes for several meetings, and I'll just pass over the list.
Mr. Chairman, move approval of the minutes that have been submitted to all the members, I believe, by email in the last couple of days. These are minutes from interim meetings for the dates of August 10, 11, 12, 13, and November 22, 23, 29, and the 30th of last year, 2021. And also approval of minutes of our last meeting from January 24, 2022.
Okay, and Representative Hoheisel second. Any discussion? Okay, seeing no discussion, we'll go and vote. All in favor?
Aye.
I guess. All opposed? No. Ayes have it. The minutes are approved, and I guess we should have had that follow-up close, but I'm sorry, we passed right over that. Yes, ma'am.
Could we just have those dates again? I'm sorry,
Yes,
you
ma'am.
went quickly. Thank you.
It's January 24th. And then the August 10 through 13, and November 22, 23, and 29, 30. Yep. Okay, with that, just to give an update and on where we're at, there was an RS number. It was RS 3629, just so you have the number. That was introduced this morning in Fed and State. For anybody that's in the audience, if you do have a map that you're wanting to submit, we are not an exempt committee, so you can't introduce it here. You'll need to introduce it in one of the exempt committees. Just a point of reference is all that is. I know there was a request earlier during that meeting for some information. We're trying to get that to you right now so we can maneuver through that. But that's where we're at. We're not going to talk about the map right now because there are some discussions that are still ongoing. And so we want to just kind of move towards that objective. With that, normally we talk about testimony and it's due the day before. And like last time, I suspended that portion and you could submit it right up until the meeting. What I will even encourage you is you can submit testimony even after we have the meetings and the hearings. So feel free. Anybody that's out there that wants to submit testimony, please do. There will be no suspense for getting that, suspense, due date and time for that information. So please feel free to send it in at any moment. With that, one thing I would like to do, and it's kind of open, and since we had this position where we're at, and it was brought up by Representative Miller last time, and I'd like to just have a discussion, if we could, about renumbering. And I mean, I don't really have a preference on it myself, but I would like to hear from the committee and see what your thoughts are on whether we should renumber or not as we go through this process. Any comments or thoughts? Representative Smith.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have no preference on renumbering. I think it makes a lot of sense to kind of move things across the state in a numerated fashion. I know typically out west we have the 120s, the higher districts, and as we lose population out west, we have to send some of those districts east, and I think it helps out with clarification for constituents and legislators alike.
Representative Miller.
I do have a preference, and I prefer as I've brought up before, that we do renumber, and my suggestion to avoid the least amount of confusion is we start from the east with the smaller numbers and work west, and that where we have multiple districts within a county, that we keep those chronological, numerical, chronological. Chronological is time, isn't it? What am I looking for? You know what I'm trying to say. In order, sequential. There we go. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Representative Hoheisel.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I guess my question would be, without a map in front of us, how many districts is this actually a problem for? I know we have, I believe, one in Johnson County that's 120s, I believe. I mean,
Well, in theory, if you look at that, I think you have 121, you have 78 and 8. I don't think those were actually in the normal numbering of Johnson County. Then down in Sedgwick County, I think there's another one that's out of sequence there. And if you look up on top of the state, you have Lisa Mosier, who's in 106, and that doesn't match the numbers around those as well. So we have a few places all around the state where that you can see where migration of population and districts have gone. And so just, again, it's not huge, but it's going to continue. So.
okay, thank you, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Chair.
1 second, Representative Burrows.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I too would agree that we need to look at renumbering because when you look at the loss of population in our rural area of the state and we move those numbers towards the urban area, it sends a message that we continue to lose population in our western part of our state. And I know many of us that are concerned about the population loss in western Kansas. I would just hate to see those upper numbers be presented in the urban core. That sends a message that we have lost that population because those are the larger numbers from out west. And so I think it sends a negative impression when you see those larger numbers within the urban core. So I would support the renumbering.
Representative Hubert.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I appreciate the comments. I would encourage that if we do renumber, that we try to minimize that as much as possible to the districts that are being moved around because of the population loss. You know, if we don't, we would have 125 districts with a whole lot of campaign materials that would just no longer be able to be used. And so I do think you could do the renumbering in a way that minimizes the number of districts impacted by the number changes. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Yep, thank you. Representative Esau.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I would echo what he just said to some extent because I don't know how many people put their district number on their yard signs, things that they reuse from time to time. My other thought that as we're just discussing this, brainstorming, is if we're going to do it, we may want to suggest that this happen every single 10 years. Because the reason it's so off now, if you look at Johnson County, we used to have 14 to 30, I believe it is. Then we jumped to 38, 39, 43, 48, 49, then 78. And plus we added 8, we added 121. We're probably adding 2 or 3 more now. So over time, every 10 years, we end up with a few more that move, a few more that move. But if we could start the same way we did before, perhaps it would minimize how many people's numbers change, perhaps. I'm not sure.
Representative Landwehr.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think in Sedgwick, you're probably referring to the 105th district, which was a new district added 30 years ago. And if you think about it, 10 years ago, when the judges drew the maps, they didn't worry about renumbering those districts. They didn't worry about putting Republican and Democrat against Democrat or Republican and Democrat together. So there was a lot of renumbering back then.
Well, just a procedural question, or is this just comments regarding renumbering? Okay.
Yeah, it was actually just wanting to get a feel for how people felt on it and if they had an idea. And if you want to, put something together and present that, I think that would be a good idea. We can have a discussion about that as we move forward in this process. I felt like since we had the opportunity, let's take that opportunity. Just one second. Representative Burrows.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Moving forward, what's the calendar look like and when will we be taking up the RS number that you talked about so that we can have an opportunity for the people listening and the people here today, give us a timeline? Sure. Do we know what the process is moving forward? Yeah,
absolutely. And that's what to cover right here at the end was, so I was actually thinking about possibly, did you have another one? Okay, possibly thinking about, I had it down on call the chair for tomorrow, but I really think it's Wednesday for as we were talking about the hearing, so people have time to look at it, see it, we can have some discussion then. I know we still have some things we're working through today. And so that would be the plan is Wednesday, and then based off what we hear there, could work Wednesday or Thursday, or if things drag on a little bit, we could go into Friday. So, all right. Again, trying to follow that process we talked about.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. What is the ETA on the digital version of the map? I know that there are some tweaks that still need to be made, but in the interest of giving the public time to review it so that they're able to prepare testimony, I think that it would be good to know what time the map will be released.
Jordan?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Jordan Milholland, Legislative Research. The plan is to release this online sometime today. We had to proof our packet for it, and so we're making sure all the labels are there, everything is buttoned up and ready for people to look at. So,
thank you. Follow up to that, please. So sometime today, does that mean prior to close of business, which is traditionally seen as 5 p.m., or is sometime today meaning prior to midnight?
Prior to 5 p.m., that's our plan. Thanks.
Representative Burrows.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I appreciate you setting out the timeline. I guess I would have a question. I know we have an RS number was submitted today. I anticipate having a few more maps presented through other to other exempt committees. I was just curious, are we going to try to finish all of those by Friday, or are we looking at possibly going into next week and or possibly working during the break?
Well, I would say I would leave it open right now to see what comes in, and then we'll make that determination. Fair enough? Okay. So with that, if there's no other comments or thoughts, we're adjourned. Thank you for your time.